And here you have it, some crispy carnivore chicken thighs. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of Carnivore Kitchen. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make some crispy chicken thighs. But before I start, you guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, ding ding ding. And if you don't want to watch the entire video, I will be including timestamps in the description of step-by-step instructions so you can skip ahead to the step that you need. Now, before we actually get started with the recipe, what exactly are we going to need? Well, first thing we're going to need is an air fryer because that is what we are going to be using to cook our chicken. Next, we are going to need some Pecorino Romano cheese. We will also need some powdered blue cheese. This we are going to put inside of the egg wash. Because we do need an egg wash, we obviously need some eggs. I'm going to be using 2 eggs. You can use however many you need depending on the number of chickens that you are using. We also need 2 separate bowls, one to put the egg whites in and one to put the egg yolks in. We also need some tongs to flip the chicken halfway through, a fork to crack the eggs, a spoon for the cheese, and we need some pork rinds. I'm using the UTZ pork rinds, and I actually made this recipe earlier today. This was the first time that I made it, and this was the first time that I ever used an air fryer, and it came out really, really good. So this morning when I made it, I ended up picking out the crispier pork rinds because I wanted to get a really, really nice crispy chicken. When I made it this morning, I just grabbed a random handful and they weren't crispy, but by the time I pulled it out of the air fryer, it was really, really crispy. So we're gonna see how exactly it comes out with these ones over here. And aside from that, we're also going to need a glass. This is going to be to crush up the pork rinds. We want to use a glass instead of blending it up. That way we can get it a little bit more thick, and by making it more thick, it's gonna be a little bit more crispy. Obviously, we are going to need some chicken thighs. I have 3 chicken thighs over here. These are from ButcherBox. ButcherBox does not pay me. I just really, really like their chicken thighs, so those are the ones I'm using today. You can use whatever chicken thighs you want. We also need some salt. I'm going to be using some pink Himalayan sea salt. The reason I like the pink Himalayan sea salt is because unlike white bleached table salt, you guys have already heard me say this a million times, but I'm going to say it one more time in case anybody is new. When it comes to white bleached table salt, it's been stripped of all its companion elements and all that's left in it is sodium and chloride. Whereas with pink Himalayan sea salt or things like Celtic sea salt, while it is 98% sodium chloride, you also do get really good trace minerals in there. You get things like magnesium, calcium, potassium, and all those great electrolytes that you need for your body to function. So this is the one that I'm going to be using, and this one over here, you have to grind it up yourself. I prefer it a little bit more on the coarse side, so that's why I use this one. If you prefer it more finely ground, then you could use the one that's already finely ground, and you don't have to grind it yourself. And then lastly, these 2 are optional. When it comes to the egg whites, you could either set them aside for later. For me, I'm going to be making an egg white and cheese omelet to go with my chicken thighs. So I am going to be using a skillet and some MCT oil to spray the skillet. And again, if you guys want to be super carnivore and you don't want to do anything that's not animal, you can use either ghee or butter instead of the MCT oil. But for me, I only use a little bit, so I'm going to be using this. Now that we know exactly what we need, what's the first step? Well, the first step is going to be to preheat the air fryer. That way we can get the chicken right in there as soon as it is ready with the batter. For the air fryer, I'm going to be setting this one to 390. That's the highest that this one goes. So I'm just going to go ahead, turn it to 390, and then I'm going to set it to 5 minutes and just let it preheat for about 5 minutes. I'm also going to do the same thing with the skillet. With the skillet, I am going to set it at the lowest setting possible just to get it a little bit warm. Now that we have that going, next thing is to crack the eggs. So I'm going to just go ahead, separate the whites from the yolks. Now that we have our egg whites and egg yolks separated, next we are going to take some sea salt and salt our egg whites and egg yolks. I like to do 1 turn for every egg that I have in here. So since I have 2 eggs, I'm going to do 2 turns of the salt grinder. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and there we go. It's all salted. Next, we have to add the Pecorino Romano cheese. For this one, if you've seen my cheese sauce recipe videos in the past, then you know you want to put enough that when you turn it upside down, it will stay in the bowl. For this, it's going to be a little bit different. We don't want to put too much because we still want it to be pretty liquidy because we are using it as an egg wash. We're not using it as a topping. So I'm just going to put just a little bit of cheese. I don't want to put too much to the point where it is too thick. I want it to be nice and runny. And when it comes to the blue cheese, same thing. I'm just going to put about half a teaspoon. You can eyeball it. You can even start out with a little bit and add more as you need it. It's better to start out slow and add more than to put too much off the bat because you can always add more and you can't take out once you've already put it in. Now we can go ahead and mix the egg wash. Right now, pretty good consistency. I put roughly half a teaspoon of the blue cheese, and for the Pecorino Romano, probably about the same. There's probably about half of each in here. And I'm going to show you right now. So as you can see, this one over here it is nice and watery. We don't want it thick like for when we make the cheese sauce. This is going to be our egg wash. Now that that is ready, next thing to do is crush up the pork rinds. For the pork rinds, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either crush it up with your fist, or if you want, you can take a glass and then just pound it. I'm gonna take the glass because that's what I did this morning and it came out good. All right, as you can see, our pork rinds are nice and crushed up. Oh, and perfect timing. The air fryer is preheated. Next thing, what we're gonna do is go ahead and we are going to take our chicken thighs and go ahead and put it in the egg wash. And once we put it in the egg wash, we're going to add it to the pork rinds. Put it in there. Go ahead and open this up, that way we can just put it on top. As you can see, one of the benefits of adding the cheese is it's going to, the breadcrumbs are going to stick really nicely to the chicken thighs. Let's just go ahead and toss that in there. Let's get the second one ready. I find that for, if you're making 2 to 3, then 2 eggs is going to be good enough. So depending on how many chicken thighs you have, you are going to have to play around with how many eggs. But I find that for every 1 to 2 chicken thighs, you should be good with 1 egg. Okay, now that that's all good to go, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in the air fryer. We're going to keep that the same temperature and we are going to put it for 20 minutes. Once we get to about 10 minutes, we are going to flip it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set my timer for 10 minutes, that way I know when to flip it. And in the meantime, if you are going to be making your omelet, you can go ahead and do that right now. So for the omelet, this one over here, I'm just going to put the Pecorino Romano. I'm not going to bother with the blue cheese this time around. Let's just go ahead and mix our egg white with the cheese. Once this is all mixed, then we'll just go ahead, add some MCT oil, fry everything up, and then we're going to have some delicious crispy chicken thighs with a nice cheese and egg white omelet. Depending on how exactly you like your egg white omelet, it's going to determine how much cheese you put in here. If you prefer it more light, fluffy, and thick, then you're going to want to put more cheese. If you prefer it more compact and dense and more thin, then you're going to add less. For me, I like it a little bit more on the thick side, so I put quite a bit of the Pecorino Romano cheese in here. And this is the same way that I made it this morning, and it came out really, really good. So I'm going to do the same thing this time around. And right now, it looks like it's all mixed up pretty well, which means it is time to put some MCT oil in the pan. Just go ahead and spray that down. A little bit more than you need. You don't really need to put this much, but I'm just going to put a whole bunch in there. Let's just give this one final mixture before we actually put it in the skillet. That way everything gets mixed really well. Just go ahead and toss it in there. While you guys had your back turned, I ended up doing a little bit of cleanup, so right now it's been about 4 minutes. We're gonna flip these bad boys in 6 minutes, and then we're gonna leave it in there for another 10, and then they're gonna be ready to go. So I'll see you in about 6 minutes. All right, it's been 10 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and flip these over. Before I put them back in, you can just have a little look at what they look like right now. In 10 minutes, they're gonna be all good to go. Next, let's go ahead and flip our omelets. So the chicken thighs are almost ready. We've got about 1 minute left. In the meantime, I'm going to take the egg white omelets off of the skillet and do a little bit of cleanup while I wait for these to finish. And the chicken thighs are ready. Let's see how they came out. They look and smell delicious. And here you have it, some crispy carnivore chicken thighs. I am going to eat these right now. That's pretty much it for the recipe video. If there are any other recipes that you would like me to attempt to make, go ahead, make your suggestions down in the comment section. Whatever gets the most likes, I will attempt to make that recipe as best as I can. That's pretty much it for today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more recipe videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.